Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. Sorry I wasn't able to post videos for a few weeks now and I was busy with my work. But I'm back baby and I will try to post most of the videos every week from now on. Keeping all of that aside, let's start with the iPhone XR. This phone was the first phone Apple launched as a mid-range product alongside the iPhone XS Max and XS. So, let's see if this phone is still worth buying in 2023, shall we? The form factor of this phone is great in hand as it fits perfectly in my palm because of the small ergonomics with aluminum frame. The screen has Gorilla Glass protection, and this phone has been through a lot, and you can see some of the scratches on the front screen. And there are few of the scratches on the frame as well, but as I've applied a skin on it, you can't see them. The back glass hasn't cracked yet after all of these years. Also, don't miss on the iconic mute switch and only a single camera at the back. By the way, did you know why the lightning port went to therapy? It's because it felt disconnected from the headphone jack. Sorry for the bad joke, guys. Let's continue. This phone still uses the lightning port and it still supports the IP67 water and dust resistance that was found on the iPhone X. And I'm not going to test this as the IP rating actually lowers after a few years in every phone. But I will say this, it definitely survives minus splashes of water on it. Coming to the controversial topic of this phone, the display. You can easily see the bigger bezels surrounding the display. The panel is a 720p LCD panel which goes up to 625 nits of brightness, making it not so bright on the outdoor scenes. It is a retina panel with 326 ppi and you can check the outdoor visibility comparing with 14 Pro Max as well. And switching between my iPhone 14 Pro Max and this, I do feel some of the pixels missing and the sharpness isn't that great as well. But this is a color accurate panel. The colors coming out of it are excellent. Even while comparing this with some of the OLED panels found on the cheaper phones, this is way better than them. And you shouldn't find any drawbacks switching this from any other OLED panel. Also, don't forget this is a 60Hz panel, right? I will give this display a 6 out of 10 for everyday use. You know, as even the iPhone 14 has the same 60Hz panel compared to this one, but if you have never used a 120Hz panel, you won't be bothered with it anyways. Starting with the battery on this phone, this has a 2942 mAh battery with the battery health of 79%. And you know, 79% isn't that big of a deal. Apple usually recommends to change the battery every 3 to 4 years. Seeing the screen on time of this phone, this will last you around 3.5 to 4 hours of daily use, which is good considering the life of the battery, but you will definitely need to charge this phone every evening if you're a heavy user. With the light usage, you will easily end up with 10 to 20% remaining at the end. Just a quick tip, do check the battery health before buying this phone. Also, this only supports up to 15 watts of charging, which is not that great. And it's pretty slow comparing with the new standards that is 150 or even 200 watts of charging, which is just crazy. And it usually takes around an hour and 15 minutes to completely charge this phone from 0 to 100%. And battery is the one area where this phone usually falls behind comparing with others. Coming to the software on this phone, this originally came with iOS 12 and is now supporting iOS 16.5.1. It will be getting a software support till iOS 17, might be even 18. Even if you consider iOS 17 on this device, this is a pretty great track record for software support on Apple devices, and it is just an insane support cycle for any phone. This phone right here is running on iOS 15.2 and hasn't been updated to iOS 16.5, as this one is a jailbroken phone and I use this as a secondary phone to my iPhone 14 Pro Max. So I have few of the tweaks running on this phone. The phone do sometimes stop responding on certain apps, but as this phone supports the latest software, you're not going to miss out on most of the features comparing even with the iPhone 14. Considering the only biometric option on this phone is a Face ID, this one isn't that bad. And the updates have perfected the Face ID on this phone as it has been through like 6 of them. Let's see how this done. Closing this. Done. Performance on this phone is still pretty amazing in 2023 as this comes with an A12 Bionic chip with 3 GB of RAM and 64 GB of storage. But this is like the oldest phone that came with the A12 chip. Even the iPad 8 Gen from 2020 received the same chip as this phone. And due to the iOS optimization, the apps and games still runs great on this phone. You can see the scores on this phone are pretty average and they are similar to other mid-range Android offerings. You can see the Geekbench 5 scores here, and comparing that with the 14 Pro Max, the scores aren't that drastic comparing between the generations. Here are also the Geekbench scores with iPhone 12. And you might see the difference the RAM makes between 3 GB and 6. The signal quality on this phone is pretty great, and I get signal coverage on the areas where there might be no signal over there. But the only limiting factor on this phone is 4G, where almost all the phones come with 5G, the mid-rangers as well. 5G actually unlocks a lot of potential in a phone, and it's improving every day as we speak. This phone not having such a crucial feature might turn off someone from buying this. I would definitely deduct points for not having 5G on this phone. Coming to the cameras, and this has a mighty single 12 megapixel camera. Single cameras are a rare breed on phones these days, as most of them come with a million cameras on the back. This phone has a mighty 12 megapixel f1.8 lens, which is equivalent to 26 mm, which is a good focal length to have. And the front camera is a 7 megapixel f2.2. Throwing all the spec sheet away, let's check out the samples. Directly comparing this camera with my 25mm lens on my Sony ZV-E10. Let's see the photos over there. You can definitely judge these photos yourself, as this is not a fair comparison because of the price difference. While we are here, let's also stack up this with iPhone 14 Pro Max. Touching on the video side of things, this can capture 4K at 60 FPS from the back camera. You can clearly see in this part why iPhone are way ahead in the video department. I'll play some of the samples here. To conclude the camera experience, the photos and videos coming out of this phone are not too bad. I would rate them an 8 out of 10. And they're perfectly good for casual shooting. This doesn't have the photographic styles, pro videos, and pro photos, but it's nothing that major to miss out on, as these are just the software features which you can find in third party apps on the App Store. By the way, if you're liking this video, please like, share, and subscribe. It helps to spread my content to more people. So, finally, coming to the conclusion, where does this phone hold up in 2023? This has a good single camera with a good performance and also comes at a lower price. Also has a decent battery life and water and dust resistance on this phone, which are a thumbs up for me, but also cuts on some of the corners. This only has 4G and not 5G, which is a bummer and certainly one of the major limiting factor for buying this phone. The low resolution display, compact form factor, and a year or two more of software update, which is a pretty good trade-off comparing with the pros and cons. But considering we get a new one for around 300 to 350 Australian dollars, it's better if you just add another 150 to 200 more to get the later iPhone 12, as it has much improved features comparing with the iPhone XR. But for some reason, if you are getting this one for a lower price, you can consider this, as this will be more than enough what you bargained for. That's been it for this video. Thanks for watching. And if you want to see the iPhone 11 Pro Max video, that will be right here. And if you want to see the latest 14 Pro Max, that will be here. See you in the next one. Peace.